apologize to everyone that was following the tweets on the HAUS account, which was my fault. They're all 1 hour late. And sorry, I am in Europe and I did not know you guys had a swift change of orchestration. How are you doing, Deegan?
Good, yeah. I I mean, we should have corrected our time to the rest of the world, but I just didn't even realize. So I guess I woke up at, let's see, fall forward. So I got an extra hour of sleep, does that mean? I mean, I woke up super early this morning and I was like, well, I'm not tired, so I guess I'll work. So I don't know. Anyways,
Well, for me, this is highly advantageous because I'm going to actually be allowed to have dinner tonight, which is something that doesn't usually happen on Thursdays. Um,
these
but
coordination things. I mean, time is the killer, right?
in our stage,
Benny
Oh,
boy.
hello, man.
can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm so excited about this episode. I know it just looks like we couldn't find a guest, but this is not true. We can always find guests. But today we want to talk about the experiments that have been going on for a few weeks now, culminating now in Foundations DAO. And of course, I am super busy. I'm always the last one to know because of all the Taoist things that have been happening. So basically, today I represent the audience, and I want to hear from Deacon and Ben because last week we caught up, and a lot of new things that have never happened before happened in this experiment, right?
Right. Yeah, it was very interesting experiment. Lots of cool stuff coming out of it, maybe. We'll see what happens. It's kind of up to the DAO now. But for a little background on what happened, we partnered up with Rabbit Hole to do a kind of a DAO education onboarding campaign. We didn't know how many people would join. We know that Rabbit Hole gets a lot of activity, a lot of engagement, and but we weren't sure exactly what would happen. But it was a 2-week campaign. We were expecting, a couple hundred people over those 2 weeks, and even that would have been really cool. But what happened was over one day, really, we had over 1,000 proposals for membership. So first of all, that was like pretty cool. Everyone is working through the kind of rabbit hole mission, their quest, and they had to do things like they had to be had voted on some snapshot proposal in the past. They had put in some bright IDs for like identification, verification. A couple other things, and then they just needed to come in and make a membership proposal for one house and one share on this Foundations DAO. Foundations DAO actually has been around for a while because we used it for feedback in our while we were building the V2 of the app, and it was still there. But it wasn't super active, and then all of a sudden we had 1,000 people join in one day, and now we're at about 2,000 people a week later. So, yeah, it was interesting. It's interesting for us as an experiment in a couple different ways because it's not necessarily what we've been building for. We're building mainly for like smaller kind of Dunbar number teams or DAOs that can coordinate fairly easy through kind of face to face or face to face through a laptop kind of communication.
Peer to peer.
Once you get over 200, 300 people in a DAO, that just becomes it's a different game. There's different game mechanics. There's different things going on. So now that there's 2,000 people in this DAO, it opens up a lot of new things, not only for kind of the mechanics that our DAOs are built around, but also for the architecture of our app and how it handles things like that. We also have seen some other kind of games being played by people trying to get the rabbit holes where we had to introduce some spam protection. This isn't something we needed before. And I was like, okay, well, now we need to add some spam protection, which is actually great. It's nice to add something like that in. And we could talk about that a little more later. But yeah, so, I don't know. I think what would be interesting today is really to talk about, what a group of strangers coming in across the world, really without a purpose of being a DAO in a DAO, but more the purpose of learning about DAOs and receiving some rewards for learning. What are the next steps here? Do this new community of people that are like based all around the world, like looking at our metrics, it's really people from all over. Do they try to come together, think of some shared or find shared goals and find some initiative and agency through this DAO to fund things or to, whatever it is. Like I put in that post, they could, maybe they want to fund charity, or they want to just try to like pump their bags and pump the house price, or maybe they want to just create memes, or maybe fund education, like because they came from Rabbit Hole. Or maybe they just all want to rage quit, which is totally fine too. Like, so, it's interesting just to see what happens next. It's kind of up to them. They control it now. It's everyone put in, around $20 or less to get one share, and now the treasury is up well over 30K. So it's a testament, I think, to show like collective participation and ownership, and just a little bit of money can make you a part of something that is much larger and actually has the ability to throw some funds around. Yeah, I don't know, Vin. What is your opinion, Ben? And a lot of the team in DAO House has not been too happy with this because it was just like a crazy week. But
Yeah, yeah, I was out for ETH Portland was going on like in the midst of it too, so I missed a lot of the heat. But yeah, I really think it's interesting as there's a bunch of people joining a DAO without a purpose, right? Without some predefined purpose of what to do once you're in the DAO. I think it'll be really interesting to see what comes out of that. It's certainly similar to like the war games that we've been playing each week too. Like where there's a little bit there, like, oh, we're going to start with this kind of game mechanics or whatever in war games anyway. But yeah, this one is much larger with currently about 1,800 members, I think, in it. So, I mean, it's like, yeah, within a day it was like you said, way past any Dunbar's number, which is, 150 people, the max Dunbar's number.
So has we attempted creating a relation of
so I
for this
think
group,
oh,
or is
sorry,
it
Ben, you're
just
breaking
via the
up
DAO?
on me. Is that me or you?
Sleepy.
Can you hear me? Oh yeah. Oh, so let's break it down slowly, because you blazed through it because you've seen it all happen, right? So basically, once people finish the rabbit hole path, they had the option to purchase one house and stake it to the DAO, or did they get this as a payment for completing the tasks? How did that work?
Yeah, they had I think when you completed the task, you would get an NFT.
You had to get your own house first. You had to go get your own house first, one house, and then you get a house afterward, I think, or you can claim it. You can rage quit and claim it back.
Right.
Got it.
And
Cool.
there was
So there's a small modicum of skin in the game, right? Not only sweat, but like a little bit of financial skin in the game. Did they know they were all going to get dumped into the same DAO?
I don't think. I think a lot of the people were pretty new to the space.
Yeah, it was very
So
they were just supposed to kind of like go and get a house and submit your member proposal with that house, one share. and then like kind of go and submit your own proposal, and then once you're through, then you can vote on other people's proposals, and that was kind of how the quest was structured. And once you completed all those things, then you got the NFT for completing the quest, which was a really sweet rabbit hole DAO
It's
house.
really cool. I actually wanted to do
Yeah.
it. I didn't have time. I'm late on my rant too, so don't judge.
I
But
missed one step of the quest actually, so I didn't get the NFT either. You were supposed to submit another proposal in the foundations, which is kind of like, so you were supposed to kind of join the DAO and then vote on proposals. So like, vote on other people coming into the DAO and then submit another proposal. So that part is where it could have gotten interesting, where you could have done, anything. You could have like requested funds. You could have submitted a meme to the DAO. You could have done really anything for that secondary proposal, I think. So yeah, but that was pretty much the quest process, I think.
all right, so this is a perfect example of how we can use the 30-second organizational design course, right? So price to get in was doing, so how do you cross the membrane? By doing the rabbit hole thing and buying one house and making sure you made not only one but two proposals to the DAO. So one was a route proposal of membership, and the second one was open for creative expression and interpretation of what needed to be done, right? So so that's the membrane. What everybody gets is one share, which would allow you to rage quit your shares of the thing. And also everybody gets basic knowledge of how to operate a DAO house DAO, which is great because basically the population of people in the world who can actually operate a DAO house DAO has grown considerably. And also in geography, it has lateralized like crazy, right? We've never seen such user base from these places in the world. So we took a solid step towards diversity there. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So do these people have a place to relate? Do we have a Foundations DAO chat here? Yeah, right? Foundations ops, Foundations join.
We do have
And there's
a channel for that. And one thing that could be interesting to talk about today, and not just relating to foundations, but yeah, what are the kind of first steps when you're starting a DAO when it comes to comms and setting up stuff like that? Like you were getting to, I think, with the 30-second.
Well, yeah, because
spiel.
once you have defined this membrane and the crossing ritual and what everybody gets, boom, you have some form of organization. It might be very loose ties like this one, and how you actually create purpose from nothing is an interesting question to ask. And for everybody who like is a fledgling community engineer out there, this DAO is a great opportunity for you to train your chops in terms of winning hearts and mind, persuasion, and trying to find a direction for something that is essentially directionless, right? But it is a lot of people. So second thing I was wondering, have people started making productive proposals for the DAO?
Well, so
Loot?
one of the things, I talked about that spam protection thing that we had to implement. Also a group kind of the first members that were able to get through, followed all the instructions right, and made it through like first, I guess. They received one POAP, and now we're giving out another POAP to the remaining members. The POAP team is in NFT New York, so they're a little busy, but we'll have all those ready soon. So if you've been a member, or if you are a member, you'll get another POAP. But one of the things that happened was we formed this Defenders of the Realm group. This was because we were getting these spam proposals in, and already we're overloaded with member proposals that are valid, but then we're also getting in a bunch of these proposals that weren't valid, and potentially people like voting down valid proposals and voting up invalid proposals. So the Defenders of the Realm were these first people that came in, and it was just basically a group that had some initiative to like go support a proposal if it seemed like it was going the wrong way for the rules. So it's just a chat that's in the group. If anyone else wants to join it, it's totally open. But basically, I mean, it's you need to be invited, but the but that gave the weight because what we determined because of the way that this DAO was set up was that we had a very loose criteria on how to join. It was one house and one share. No criteria around like civil defense, meaning like verifying that someone's not using multiple addresses. Um, the rabbit hole campaign had that built in, but the DAO actually didn't. So someone could come from the rabbit hole campaign and then spin up 20 addresses and do one house for each, and now they have 20 members and 20 votes. They so now that they have 20 votes, it's like there's a bit of a risk there because everyone else only has one vote. But there's some interesting mechanics that start happening with this because other people, it's not only like one person that was trying to game the system like that. There's other people that were also doing that. So they're competing against each other in a weird way. And then when we start something like Defenders of the Realm, and we've got 100 people in this specific chat that can kind of be mobilized to help out certain proposals, now it's like a little extra strength that we have to combat those kind of things. So those were some interesting things I think that came out of this. And for if there has been any interesting proposals, they've been all basically just sticking to the script. But there was kind of a reason for that because the spam filters is pretty strict. So I think going forward, we've loosened up the spam filter. There still is going to have to be a tribute on every proposal. We can't get around that. Right now, it's a one house tribute, but you could make a proposal for 5 house. And maybe like we can start seeing some interesting ideas come out of that. Like maybe the Defenders of the Realm should get some extra shares or get some house for doing the work they're doing. Maybe we come up with some other interesting things to do or fun things to do, you know, like we set up a couple other initiatives. We had one that was like create a meme and one that was like follow us on Twitter and one go draw a drawing on Nifty Ink. And we got some really fun submissions on all of those. And so, you know, when it comes down to it, though, it's like, you know, a purposeless DAO, maybe it doesn't have a purpose. Maybe we can't find one. Maybe there's no one who actually like wants to take that first initiative to get it going. And then everyone should just rage quit. So because of the things I just mentioned, there is some risk to this. I mean, you may have only put in $20, which depending on where you are could be a lot. And so that's the risk you have to lose. What you have continuing to be a member right now is direct governance over a pot of 35K.
Can you expand a little more on what kind of spam filtering mechanics you guys created? Or it would make it gameable?
Yeah, so one of the things about our DAOs is that anyone can make a proposal. It's totally open. You don't have to be a member. That wasn't, we did that on purpose initially. This is in the contract. You know, that we didn't want it to be, we wanted it to be less friction for someone who was asking for funding from the DAO, asking, you know, some retroactive pay for some bounty they did, but not actually a member. We didn't want to block those things, and anyone can apply to become a member. Now, on mainnet Ethereum, something like that is totally fine because the gas builds in a kind of blocker to that, especially nowadays where to use an on-chain DAO on mainnet, you're going to be spending several $100s of gas just to make a membership proposal. Now, on XDAI, where transactions cost a fraction of a penny, it's a different problem, right? Because now it may someone who is just trolling around or just doing it for the lulls, or maybe someone who is malicious or whatever, they can spam it down with thousands of proposals over a series of blocks, and that creates just like an overload to current members to try to manage. So this isn't on the contract level, right? Because we can't upgrade the contract. It's a smart contract without any upgradability. So on the front end, all we did was we just made it easier on the members by filtering out any proposals that don't have one house tribute. So all the proposals are still there, and you can actually still go see them. They're all on chain, and we're working on a view to actually be able to view unsponsored proposals. So we only filter out the unsponsored proposals without one house tribute. So that helps a lot. That actually, so to talk about how much spam we got, it's 10, 20, 30,000 proposals. It was pretty crazy. So, the filtering that noise out was important because they were all just totally garbage.
Do you think people build bots to propose?
Yeah, and then that's another thing. So people are running bots maybe, and or running some automation scripts, or I doubt that someone 10,000 people all tried to do or put in a bad proposal, maybe. And then so we also employed our own bot. So we have bots in HAUS, and they usually do things like process proposals on some DAOs and things like that. So processing a proposal is like the last step. It's kind of like filing the paperwork of a proposal, and anyone can run it. It's just one of those things with blockchain where you just have to run this like final thing to kind of solidify it. And so we have a bot that actually does that. And we've used it in other cases where the bot's actually a member of the DAO. So in this case, we actually have a bot that's a member of the DAO, of this DAO. And he's the one that is kind of, I don't know, he or she, how do you reference a bot? But do you even, or shouldn't personify it? I don't know. Anyways, he has some criteria built into his brain, into his script, and it just checks for some things and will vote yes or no if those things are passed. He's just another vote in the DAO, so he can still lose, but having something automated helps get through just when we have loads of things, helps that go through. But the bots are, they're powerful for good and for evil.
Well, and so with the Defenders of the Realm, how did you assemble that group? Did people self-assign? Did you reach out to all of them? Because I imagine this impacting the general work at HAUS pretty heavily. If you guys are like, oh shit, we have to coordinate this mass of people suddenly.
Yeah.
It's like the size of 10 normal big DAOs, right? So are your children okay?
The Defenders of the Realm, we initially started with kind of an internal group that was called Foundation Ops. And we were just talking about the things that were happening, some of the observations that each of us were making. We talked about the bot, how to get it set up, and then talked about this other potential way to get people, kind of activate people, get them engaged in self-policing the DAO. was by creating a group. And so that POAP that we sent out for the first 50 people, all of them just automatically got that role, Defenders of the Realm. If they didn't, other people that were active in the chats were actively talking about, learning about how the proposals work, learning about the mechanics, threw them in there too. And really it's just we post a link every once in a while, like vote this up or vote this down. Like if someone sees something, I think that's kind of the idea behind it. It's it's a couple days old, so but I think it's also an interesting thing, and this happens with most DAOs after they're forming, is subgroups and work streams start forming. It's kind of in the flat nature of DAOs where if someone takes the initiative to do something, then sometimes it'll take off. It's kind of like the one of the powers of a flat organization is emergence, and in emergence it's like throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what sticks, or it's like evolution or something. It's like there's a lot of things will kick off. Some things will just be a flash in the pan, and some things will like get some more traction and momentum and gravity. But all of those kind of things always take some kind of leadership. Like there's no such thing as a leaderless flat organization. There's definitely, there's no management or managers in a flat organization, most times. So, but there definitely is leaders. That's just human nature. And so, yeah, for any of these kind of side groups, I'm rambling totally on random topics now, but
No, it's okay. I think there's an uncomfortable nature to this episode because there's nothing being shilled, and there's no specific point that we want to drive across. We're not trying to say make more DAOs. We're not saying make less giant DAOs. But I felt it was important. It was my idea to have the episode around this, but I felt it was important for us to have this recorded and streamed because I feel that in the oncoming onslaught of attention that we expect DAOs to have, we're going to see a lot of these things happen. Maybe to the point that it justifies research and development into platforms that are specifically optimized for this type of DAO, especially with the fast proliferation of collector DAOs and fractionalized NFTs and all the L2 things that are coming. I expect this to be a common occurrence. And I think it's super timely and almost lucky that you guys have been playing these war games every week. Because if you hadn't, you would be caught with your pants down totally, no?
It's true. That's true. Very good point. Yeah, and I think, I like that we're having this conversation today. And I think like one thing that I'd like to do here is like, try to, I think we've already started talking about like, some of these things around like DAO formation and like these different things and like leadership and things. So like, and there's this rabbit hole quest for people to like join this DAO, but beyond that, there really was no direction. And there has been like some community members who posted some options. But I think there's an interesting surface there to explore around what are the primitives. If you were to launch, and Nick's on here too. He had some interesting ideas around this yesterday, and another conversation. Nick, if you want to jump on, signal. But like some of these, like is there a way to like just drop people into and people have made comments in the house party chat as well, like. Devour 66, another proof that DAO is an instrument for a group of people that already have some unity. Giving away that instrument to random people won't create that unity. And I think that that same point has been made, to DAOs, of different types. If you launch a token and they give it to people, does that provide them with unity? There's financial incentive there at least, so that's like something. But in this particular example of Foundations DAO, like, was there some, we definitely went into it as like an experiment, open-ended to like as a learning exercise for all of us. The people who came in to the DAO learned how to do a DAO and kind of like what some things happen when you're in a DAO, basically, which is like information that you cannot gain from reading an article or something. So I think that was really impactful. But, you know, is there some other kind of primitive method of, you know, I think the main primitive for DAO formation that people need when they join a DAO is like, what are we doing here? Minimally, like what is our shared purpose? Is there something that we're doing? That's one method. Like, so some initial leaders that are bootstrapping a DAO, you know, can like set up a work stream and kind of put together some purpose, and if people want to play along with that purpose, they will. Another method that I think would have been interesting is to like figure out a way to, instead of like setting a specific purpose for this group of thousands of people who just land in a DAO, um, but you know, providing, you know, how can we provide new members, new entrants to a community, you know, proper methods of self-organization, you know, at an atomic level, would have been really cool. And maybe in the next experiment, there's a way we can do that, like kind of set up some examples of like, okay, you're in a DAO, now you can self-organize into, you know, these different kinds of paths or create your own path or whatever. But yeah, what do you guys think about that?
Well, I have some things to say because a lot of this takes me back to Genesis DAO days, but I'm not going to forget them. So I'm going to give the word to Nick, who has joined us in the in the stage here. How are you doing, Nick?
Doing good, GM guys.
GM.
Jim.
I'm really thinking about um what how does the DAO publish what it wants? And then what are the members of the DAO doing to advocate for their perspective of the question, what do I think the DAO wants? And Spencer had this great thread, and he says like, okay, we need step one, decide what the DAO wants, basically, and then step two is execute it. And people should be compensated, and we need to evaluate the execution to see if it's actually aligned with what we think the DAO wants, like if it meets the threshold to receive the reward. But I'm really excited about this idea of trying to work together to articulate like that decision factor, that okay, here's the list of things that the DAO wants and what it's willing to what resources it's willing to allocate toward achieving those goals, and thinking of the DAO as its own entity, right? It's a thing. It's the group brain. It's the collective intelligence of all the folks, and it's implementing game rules and incentives in order to try to get what it wants.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome point. And like, so I guess traditionally, or how we're seeing it right now, traditionally, I mean, it's also new, but most people are using like discourse or something to start like building ideas, building like some kind of manifesto and purpose and roadmap. And but yeah, it's such a new space. I mean, and to go back to Felipe's point, you know, this is one experiment. We do these kind of experiments all the time. Like, I don't think there's anyone in the space who has done more ridiculous like DAO experiments than us. And we're we're learning a lot. And and so right now our platform isn't perfect for huge DAOs, but it could easily be. And we're learning as we go, and we're creating things. And this kind of is an example, like what you're talking about, Nick, is you know, the all the tooling that goes into creating an organization, that and to creating a DAO specifically, things that are you know, Web3 based and decentralized and all that just don't exist yet. You know, there's more and more stuff coming. I bet over the next few months and the next year, there's just going to be like an onslaught of things because DAOs have gotten so popular. Then it'll be more about curation and figuring out which things to use and which things actually work, with, you know, with most of them being built without the experimentation that we've done, but probably a lot of research. So yeah, I don't know. like even right now, I'm sure there's a few people with great ideas. And maybe there's only 10% of the people or even 1% of the people in this DAO that have some amazing ideas and some initiative to make it keep working. That may be all that's needed, but we do need a way for them to communicate. So we could set up a discourse. I don't know.
I love this point on tooling, and I think that tooling is evolving quickly, and the demand for DAOs has increased a lot. So there's a lot of people working on tooling right now, which is cool. And then there's the parameters that we set within the tools. So like 30-minute proposal times is a parameter. And I think as we advance the tools, there will be a larger set of parameters that we get to customize. And the beauty of experimentation is instantiating the parameters in a bunch of different ways. And as we do that, I think we'll start to create, we'll like gradient descent our way to game rules that are affecting coordination across the group, and like we'll copy that and fork it into new DAOs and say, okay, we know that 30-minute proposal times are no good, but we also know 24-hour proposal times are no good. So we should, what we found is that 4-hour proposal times are great for DAOs of X size, and that type of knowledge gets passed from DAO to DAO as we run more and more experiments.
Yeah.
So it's funny because all of this harks back to Genesis Alpha for me, which was my first DAO, and where a lot of the things I've created that are known happen, etc. Which was basically a DAO that was pretty much a permissionless, purposeless space built by the DAO Stack team to have people come over and just propose whatever. And what the difference is that they had a team of on-task facilitators working for the core team with the desire to help find out what the purpose is. Independently of my opinion from what happened later, in the beginning, it was very much a open purposeless space, other than let's do things that help the DAO ecosystem grow, which at the time was pretty much helping DAO Stack grow because it was the only one who had an operational DAO framework, fast followed by Aragon and then you guys. And I'll never forget that you guys actually got a grant from that DAO to build DAO House, which I love because I voted it up and I boosted it. And we had that mechanic of the holographic consensus back then, which was quite cumbersome to use, but it was specifically designed to deal with this sort of situation where you have proposals and you need to allow smaller subsets of DAO to be able to coalesce, make a decision, what are the good ones, what are the bad ones, but you also don't need full participation and extreme coordination to make a good decision. Without going into the particular merits of if holographic consensus, the way it was designed, then was the best, it really feels like something that we would want to see a version of in the near future. And a lot of the things that came out in that DAO, and there's a lot of documentation we learned from, were not a lot of technology got built by that DAO, but a lot of research, documentation, education, and creative stuff done by that DAO. So one thing that I could maybe suggest that would self-identify people in the community, probably people that are already members of the defenders of the realm, and they could try to spin up a relational cycle, like actually having calls, because even in a DAO of 1,800 people, if you schedule a community call, 50 will show up, or even less, right? But at least you're giving some chance of cluster of intention to form. Does this strike anyone of you, especially you, Deacon and Ben, who were there back then?
Yeah, I love cluster of intention. Actually, that's a cool phrase. Yeah, and that actually, that goes back to our origin stories, right? That the first grant DAO House got was,
and we had way less money at the center back then. It was like $5,000 at a time, etc. And I literally paid my bills for 5 months with that DAO, with no job. Eventually, I got hired, but I literally just paid my bills with that shit. It was great. It saved my life.
The grant we got was the DHAC grant or whatever, and it was for not even $1,000, but it was enough signal for us to keep building. So, and then
No, first
we
you
have
got a
one
prize. First you got a prize for the bounty. It was not even 1,000. But then I remember you guys got a big grant from Genesis. That was like a big, quote unquote, at the time. Well, in the middle of the bear, you guys got a 5K or something. It was great. And I remember getting 3,500 at the time to the Dow Canvas, which was actually, I remember vividly because it was such a contested process. Who is this weird Brazilian person who decided that they can do the Dow Canvas? And it was 13.8 ETH at the time. So we can all punch the wall.
I
I
know.
don't think we were paid
I
in
hate
stables back then. I'm pretty sure it was this ETH.
It was all ETH, my friend. Back then
Yes.
it was all ETH, but I was paying bills. So
So 1,000 might
sorry.
have been 5 ETH, which is 20K today. So yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, if
Just
we were all holders in the early days, then ETH wouldn't be where it is now. So we gotta use it.
absolutely. Burn it.
Logonaut, how's it going?
What up, sir? Don't be quiet. Don't be shy. We're all just reminiscing here. You should take the microphone from the old farts.
Maybe having some mic issues, but if
Oh,
you get
wow.
them, that's okay. Just start talking, and maybe we'll hear you eventually.
Okay, so the other question I have for you guys is, would you do it again? If so, how different? And do you think you could have done this on purpose? And what, like, because we interviewed Rabbit Hole recently, and I enjoyed the way Brian's mind works. I still also have like a little bit of a desire of seeing that mechanics applied to more like complex tasks and outcomes. And we kept talking about the Dow University. The Dow University idea keeps coming up. It's maybe really related to something that the Taoists could help birth in the future. So if Foundations 2 were to happen, how would it be?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think like I liked your comment about permissionless plus purposeless is kind of like a dead zone, right? So I think, but it's always good to learn from these experiments.
Not necessarily. I mean, if the space is how do you say, nobody is trying to push or catalyze a specific purpose, individuals and agents become free to actually project their own purposes into the thing, right?
Right. So
What you need is a cheeky person like boom, boom, boom. You have people like Luke who came and did boom, boom, boom. And then you have people like Jen and Pat, etc. And all of these people that were super cheeky and aggressive at the beginning of Genesis DAO are actually doing lots of stuff in the space. So I really believe, I've said it many times here, the spaces of pregnant emptiness, they're my favorite.
Well, if you've got people who are values aligned and they have enough overlap in what they want to do generally, then I think that can be successful. But I think if you don't have a goal, a specific goal, and you don't have values overlap, then impregnable space, is that what you said, is going to become an adversarial environment quickly.
yeah, so like totally, and like I was thinking about that, like in this exact case, like where is the organic alignment? So like everybody went through, they went to Rabbit Hole, they saw a Dow House quest, and they chose to act on it to either, learn about DAOs or ostensibly to collect the NFT for completing the quest, I guess, right? Those were the two things that people were thinking about and doing to end up in Foundations. And trying to, like, I guess on my end from like a coordination design perspective, like trying to figure out what were these values that drew people in to get here in the first place, and then trying to empower that natural organic alignment, just trying to figure out what that is. And And
I
Yeah,
mean,
does it make
what we did back in the day over there was literally send the types of proposals. There was different types of proposals that we identified. One of them is a signaling proposal, and the other one was a sensing. So one could be like, the proposal had no on-chain consequence, but it said, Genesis DAO has the goal of doing this and this, and then people would vote and would shoot it down and then rework the statement, and eventually the statement got ratified. So there was a use of on-chain mechanics back to actually find the purpose in adversarial state. And if you watch all my talks and stuff, and that's when all the times I made fun of Moloch DAOs because of where I came from, is that I was very keen on this idea from the beginning that you would have the big revolution of DAOs is having people in disagreement to have productive conflict. I love this. I'm super excited about people hating each other and getting shit done by accident, by emergence because of the mechanics, the trustless mechanics. So I think this is a very cool step to see this challenge create this particular space of DAO House, because you guys are the cutest, the chillest, the illest, and the fastest platform builders I've met. So I'm really excited to see what you guys are going to come up with to deal with 10,000 people that not necessarily like each other, and some of them actually, how can they build together?
Yeah, I
we're
mean, it can
definitely
be.
looking more. Go ahead.
Yeah, it definitely can't be stated enough that this is literally the first time that a Moloch DAO has ever grown above or has ever been above a Dunbar's number. So this is the first time that any of us in the entire world have ever seen this. So yeah, it's a really good opportunity to view how people organically try to self-organize and to try to build mechanisms to make that smoother, at least from my coordination design perspective.
Logo not. Do you want to try again? Still can't hear you, man. Clavis, got a question?
Yeah, I had just a question around Rabbit Hole. Just confirming, is there anyone here who works in Rabbit Hole, or you were just having a conversation around it?
Yeah, we were just talking about the rabbit hole quest for foundations.
Okay, cool. So
But we have
maybe
some rabbit
just
hole people in the audience that I spotted. So if you have a message to send to rabbit hole.
not exactly. I had a question, maybe not exactly to Rabbit Hole. So I've been exploring Rabbit Hole a bit, and one of the issues that I say with Rabbit Hole, I think maybe the design is a bit complex. And even if people go and try to interact, maybe mint NFTs and other stuff, it's a bit complex for them. So I'm part of 1-2 DAOs that takes this approach in a different way. So Rabbit Hole goal is to onboard Web2 people into crypto, people who are very early into crypto. They basically have written documentation into this and then have some sort of onboarding calls where they pair people and help people to understand it. So I would just love to listen to your guys. What is your maybe stance on what's better, maybe a rabbit hole format or a content and then hands-on experience, something where a mentor is guiding? Although it's not scalable in any sense, but I guess it works much better than what rabbit hole is doing.
Yeah, on my feelings about rabbit hole, I thought it worked pretty well. Yeah, I don't know about the scaling side of it, and I wasn't in the rabbit hole Discord. I'm sure it was very chaotic over there, but it seemed to be doing its job pretty well of like funneling people into doing a quest, and then those people getting some kind of accreditation for that. I think it'll be interesting to see, like, through this, how well, like, I'd love to hear from them on how well their civil defense kind of mechanisms worked, how well the whole decentralized aspect of their system worked, and what kind of things they ran into. And I think they run into these things fairly regularly, so it's not they build fast and learn fast too, which is like us. G2, hey man, you hopped up.
Hey guys, sorry I was a little in and out a little bit because I had like 2 meetings in the middle of this one, but I wanted to know if you mentioned the Avagachi experiment we're working on.
No, I haven't, but I will
Oh.
now because
Ooh.
so
Yeah.
one of the other cool things that's happening right now is there's some more NFT support in our DAOs, a couple more proposal types, a nice gallery that you can view it. We're able to bolt on these Gnosis safes through Minion safes. And so the Avagachi guys have been doing some interesting things with starting these kind of gotchi guilds. Is that what you guys are calling them, or is that just the name of yours? Or but
Yeah, pretty much gotcha guilds.
yeah, do you want to talk about it real quick?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely an in-depth, description around it and whatnot. And there's a lot of YouTube influencers or whatever you can go through and find out all the inner depth details. But ultimately, what we're building is we have these DAOs, and they're basically guilds of maybe you're an Avagachi owner, maybe you'd like to become one, and we're just pretty much utilizing these guilds to partake in the Avagachi universe as it is now. Where recently they just had an auction for land parcels where they're building out a metaverse around the Avagachi gaming system, NFT system. So so we're accumulating members and accumulating with or without Avagachis. One really cool thing about Avagachis, by the way, is they're interest bearing NFTs. So you can use Aave to stake into your Avagachi, and it earns interest over time. And there's other mechanisms that cause value to your NFT as well. A lot of different, XP drops and things like that. There's mini games that's involved with them. But one of the really cool things with bringing the Avagachi universe into the picture is basically you have these different land parcels that you can go to war with other guilds, and I kind of playing on that initial, I guess, thought that we've been playing with war games, essentially, in a sense. So really interesting stuff. So if anybody's interested, be happy to walk this through with everyone.
That sounds awesome, man.
Sounds like an episode is coming, actually.
Yeah, I think we should do an episode with the whole crew, you and Musasha and stuff. Yeah, definitely.
The price is just one Avagachi for me, actually.
So
Okay,
I don't know.
okay,
I
nobody
guess
laughed. Nobody laughed. I'm sorry. No, I'm not actually corrupt.
We laughed on the inside, so.
yeah, I just want one land parcel. You can do it. You can do it. Oh man, I just found out that Cosmo's super sweet Nifty ink sold out, and I don't think the DAO proposal period went through in time so that the Inky crew could get one. I'm gonna have to commission you to do another one, man.
Well, also I noticed Austin got 2 of them, so he's hoarding.
Oh, and I got
Let's
one, so I
shame
can
him.
kind of.
Yeah, we can
Let's
shame
shame
Austin.
him.
Austin got 2. Oh, he's a fan. That's good.
I mean, he built the thing, right? So
Yeah. So we have like not even 10 minutes left. What to do about foundations? Can we give some do we try to kick off some initiative on getting things started, start their own Discord or see if anyone's into doing that and wanting to, the DAO will probably be paying for those kind of things. So if anyone that's on this call is here because of foundations and is into that, then let's start talking about it. I mean, what other first steps, getting that manifesto and purpose, or just being like Felipe said, and just start making proposals for yourself. And
Yeah, I'm gonna go write a proposal to foundations for foundations to commission me to paint a painting because I need to paint. And
I
then
think that'd be awesome.
you guys can own the painting and the NFT as a DAO and figure out what to do. Maybe
Well, we have you and
Huh?
Cosmo, so I think, and I don't know if he's still on even, but we could commission a couple paintings. Maybe Adrian would do one. Which, speaking of, Adrian made an amazing POAP for today. I don't know, have we put that out anywhere for the peeps?
did we talk about it? Yeah, there's always a POAP. You have to poke people. I minted mine.
Yeah, it's a goodie. I like the Discord idea. I think that's good empathy that, there's a lot going on in our Discord, and maybe they are their own DAO. So
Yeah,
have a coordination channel, basically.
another thing we learned in this whole process is that Collab Land, although it's awesome, it has some major problems with that join command, where it's just people just run the join command in every single channel, hoping that something happens. And so I don't know where the messaging gets messed with that, or if they could just let us limit it to one channel, that would be nice.
Well, it shouldn't really be too hard even. Right. Yeah, exactly.
I got a kind of crazy idea. I, I like what Ven said earlier about kind of finding the organic flow that the group is already in, and that there's kind of like this open bounty system that Rabbit Hole did. So I wonder if the next set of steps is for the group to decide what the next set of steps are. Like create like Rabbit Hole 201 within the DAO where everyone is kind of onboarding to the next level. Create a Discord channel, create a subgroup, and like put bounties assigned to each of those in terms of DAO shares or loot.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be a good idea. I think that, yeah, and that kind of goes back to your question of like, where does the DAO publish what it wants, right?
Yeah, exactly. And what group actually informs that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a lot we can learn by trying to give money away for sure.
Yeah, I like that point though. Like you've already come in doing quests, so then like now that you're a DAO, you can literally build your own quests, right? So yeah, I like that train of thought.
I
You
want
got
to
some
add.
trash?
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna throw
any
some
final
trash.
consideration? Hello, Bao.
Hello, friends. I think it would be cool to. I like the conversation happening. By the way, thank you guys. It'd be really cool to like do some kind of like leveling up for the foundation's participants. So like maybe people with a lot of shares in Foundation's DAO, they could talk about doing some like uh, level up quest that would get people into a new DAO, and basically a proposal could be made by that group that agrees to move some funds into a new DAO to accomplish something. I don't know, just throwing stuff.
I'm just gonna give you guys a reference. There's a English TV show that's very dada that I watch all the time called Taskmaster. If you never watched that, just throw Taskmaster on YouTube. And shout out to Inga. She was watching. She was also a big fan. Basically, it's a bunch of comedians that get tasked in doing like really stupid tasks, and then like they level up. I think if we introduced some senseless comedy into the it wouldn't be a bad.
Yeah, I like that senseless comedy. Definitely. Could be
Like
fun.
meme competition. Some like just weird self-doxing, send a picture doing this kind of thing, and then you can create a narrative. You know, you can like it's a way to have social skin in the game to define leaderships and engagement, and then that people else. Also, a little bit of social selection to find out who's actually paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
we are.
that's exactly what
sorry.
I was thinking. That piece right there is like, yeah, start communicating or throw everybody into a Discord, make a forum post, or do something, generate something to start guiding people, and then like whoever's paying attention will do something with it, I'm sure.
Yeah. So what if the defenders of the realm became the tyrants of the realm, and then they sent out these missions, and people who didn't perform, the tyrants of the realm would try to kick them, rage quit them from the DAO, and then people would have to also coalesce to defend themselves from the tyrant of the realm. So instead of just providing a group of friendly like friendly coordinated people, you can actually have a malicious coordinated group that forces the DAO into some form of higher coordination to stop the raiders and ravagers of the. But yeah,
I like
guys,
that a lot.
We are at the top of the hour, and I'm starting to have evil ideas, which is usually when I say I need a break. I hope you guys enjoyed this very uncommon episode where we went everywhere in the world. I'm really happy to see evolutionary steps happening or evolutionary pressures happening to our technology, and I really wish I had more time to play with all these. Any final considerations before we leave the garden?
Yeah, thanks for coming, party people. Party on. Patience, please. Yes, yes.
So
Cool.
if you're in Foundations DAO, go out there and organize an orc raiding party. Let's see what happens.
Cheers, guys. Thanks.
Salut.